Hello folks, welcome back. In this session, I am going to cover these 6 points. First, what is the best practice to handle custom exception and throw custom exception, custom message, custom, and how to create a error message class so that we can send the error in a very useful manner. I can say the very specific error message with the details. Okay. And third is how to create a custom exception in this, and what is controller advice that we are going to use here to handle all those exceptions thrown by the controller that we are going to handle, capture into the controller advice class to handle the exception thrown by the controller to return more specific error message in response. And then fifth one, after completion of this exception part, then we will cover Open API specification, which is implementation of actually more specification of Swagger. How can we use in Spring Boot and for API documentation purpose and testing the API through Swagger UI. And sixth one is how can we customize Open API doc path. Okay, so let's just start jump into the Eclipse. This code is basically, if you see, if you have followed my previous video, so I have created this project, Spring Boot project using JPA S2 in-memory database, and I written some test cases using JUnit with using mock MVC. Okay, so this is already, if you see in that description of that video, you will find that GitHub URL as well. So I'm not going to cover this one because I have already covered this one. So I will just quickly jump into that. How can we create a custom exception first? So let me create one custom exception. So we are going to create first bad input request. Okay. So what will be the package? Exception. Bad request exception, input exception. Okay, this class will extend runtime exception. This class is going to have one data member, which is called private error code. We can have int or anything, but I'm going to use as a int error code. And then this class, if you remember that when we are going to create any custom exception, so there it's depend on how many constructors that you want to create specifically. So I will create first one default constructor, which is where input request, and then we'll call, I will have to call super from here. Then again, there will be another constructor, public input. This will take as an argument final string message, and then I will pass this in super constructor, this message, because if you see in this class there is a runtime exception, and here there is a default constructor, and there is another constructor which is taken argument as a exception message. Then another constructor I'm going to create, public where input request with the error code and message. Okay, final int p error code, and then final string. I can use message. Okay, here we can pass a super constructor super as a super message, Okay, p message, and this dot error code equal to p error code. Okay, and fourth constructor I'm gonna create using the throwable as well. So bad input request, and that is final p error code comma final string p message, and final there's another throwable. Okay, right. Hmm. And then I can pass in super constructor. If you see, there's two constructor in super. I can pass in throwable. Okay, and this dot error code equal to p error code. Okay, and now I have to create a getter setter for one property. Get error code. Okay, so now we are ready with the one custom exception. We can add a serial version ID as well. So serial version ID, serializable actually. Now this is the bad input request. Now I want to create another custom exception, which will have another kind of, let's say 500 error kind of custom exception. Any business specific business validation specific custom exception that we can create. Okay, so I'm gonna create another class which is custom. Let's suppose custom exception, custom error, or you can say user user custom. Okay, user custom user custom exception. Okay, now this one is also going to extend runtime exception. So here as well I'm going to use same kind of things. So I will have let's suppose these two. Okay, and then again I'm going to create a constructors. There will be a public constructor, user. This will take this will be the default, and then I will call super directly, super default constructor. And then another one is public user custom exception, which will take a one parameter argument as a final string message. And I will pass in a super constructor. Then again, I'm going to create another custom argument that will be another parameter, final int p error code. Okay, and then I can do here this dot error code equal to p error code. Okay, another constructor I'm going to create with throwable. The error code is specifically because we are going to mention we can have own error code specific to business, right? So let's suppose you are going to create an order. So I can have multiple kind of, so there's a stock is not there. so there will be some error code or something, order got failed while placing, and yeah, so etc. So whatever, it's depend on so what kind of error code that you want to map with a particular specific message that you want to throw in the front end side. Okay, so that will be useful to user to understand what kind of actually going on in the behind the scene. Okay, so there is another final throwable, and I'm gonna pass here throwable. Okay, now we are ready with the two custom exception to move ahead. I'm gonna generate get a setter here. Okay, all right. So now we have created two custom exception. Okay, and okay, so let me create one message. So that message we are going to return as a response, as API response. Okay, so there's a message. Okay, so our error response, you can say, let's say error response. Let me meaningful name. Error response. Okay, this is error response. So this class is very simple class, and this class will have uh, three type of property. One would be error code. You can say code only, because I'm going to same process follow by which has been followed by the Spring. Okay, so if you call any API through Spring, so Spring own custom will be written as a with these three value code, and then message and a request URI. So same pattern I'm gonna use private string and then request URI, requested URI. Okay. Okay, and now I will create a constructor public error response, and this will take a parameter all three. Okay. Okay, so let me generate rather than writing. So generate constructor. Okay, there's no need of super constructor. Then I will generate a get a setter. Sorry. Okay, all right. So we are ready with the error response that we are going to return as a while any error is occurring. We are going to return this error in this format to the as a API response, and then we will specifically we are going to throw custom exception based on error, and then now we are going to create a exception handler basically that I discuss which is controller advice advice that we are going to use, because this class is going to handle all the exception that is thrown by controller will handle it by this class. Also, we can create a based on the base package. We can provide this base package. We are going to use this handler, and this base package, we are going to handle another class. So we can divide in a subgroup as well. But now I'm having only one controller class, so I'm going to use that particular. I'm not going to use any base package and subgroup subset. Okay, so I'm going to create another class here. Custom exception handler. Okay, so first of all, in this class I'm going to use annotation controller advice. Okay, so controller advice is basically going to handle all the exception that is thrown by controller, specific controller, that will be captured here. Based on that, what kind of exception that you are going to you have handled here. Otherwise, it will not get captured here. So I will show you how. So first of all, we are going to use exception. What kind of exception you are going to use to handle here? So there is an exception handler annotation, and this will take some argument inside it. And then you will define that particular if controller is throwing any exception, that should be particular match with that particular custom exception. Okay, so I am going to use bad here, bad input request dot class. You can pass as a multiple. Okay, and then next thing is you are going to use response responses. So response status is basically what kind of error code basically you are going to is thrown by the controller. Based on that, it will handle here. So here I can define a value. So value equal to, I can define let's suppose you are going to find a user by ID. That ID is not actually existing into the database, so it should return a 404, right? User not found. But something is expected long value, but you are sending as a instead of some string value, that will throw as a bad request, right? So http, what is okay, value equal to sorry, syntax error. No. HTTP status. Let's status. Not bad. Don't know why it is not coming. Let me write method first. Then I will annotate. Okay, so I'm gonna write a method. There is a public method, and that will be kind of return type will be response entity. I will leave it as it, and then handle bad request, because we are going to handle bad request kind of exception. Okay, and this actually going to take two kind of argument. One is that particular exception is going to throw. So this one actually. So bad request input exception. Okay, and another is servlet HTTP servlet request. So whatever the value is coming as an input or as a body, whatever so we can get here from this actually from request to scope. So HTTP servlet, there is a request. So okay, now we can use here response status. Dot bad request. Okay. Great. Now what we can do, we can create an error response here. So I'm going to create an error response object. So error response new error response. Okay. Now we can pass here all the argument that is required. So we can directly pass there's error code. So bad exception. Exception dot get error code. And second one is we are going to pass actual message that is we have thrown from the controller. So get message or localized message you can get as well. And next thing we can pass request URI. So we can get request dot get requested URI. Okay. Now, so this is basically error message is going to going as an error response to the API. So here we can return simply return new response entity. Response entity. Okay, as an error response, and here response, and then HTTP status we are going to return as a bad request. That's fine. Bad request. Okay. So what's the error actually? HTTP. Okay. So okay, we are going to return this HTTP status. Where? Let me actually use this. Remove argument to match response entity HTTP status. No, so there is no HTTP status. And then status dot bad request. I don't know what happened. Something issue that Eclipse, is it? Okay. That's the issue actually. Yeah. Okay, another I'm going to handle here for actually 4 not found. So user not found basically. So I will use the same. I'm not going to handle because this will be the same bad request kind of things, and then also I will return not found. Handle bad request. One you can say. Okay. Or I can say bad request or handle not found request. Not found. Okay. Everything is fine now. We are done with that custom exception or error response. Now let's move to that controller. So controller, I'm going to remove this layer and I will move it to service layer. So let me create one service class dot service. There will be user service. This will be as a service, and then I will inject auto wire this user repo. So because I have two methods, two methods. To one is create user, and then second one is get user. So I'm going to create same method as with the name. So public, I will return user here. So create user. I will pass user as a user entity as a parameter, because the same parameter I will pass here, delegate here, and let import. And then now I will return as a something as it is. So if I'm going to save, so repo, uh, repo, user repo, user repo dot save entity, and then user. Because if you see this method, it will return you the saved entity. Okay, so I will return as it is. Okay, and then second method I'm going to create, I'm gonna create which is get user. Here I will have long ID. Okay, and then find by ID, and then I'll pass. I will change to that optional, not I will handle here. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to handle, let's suppose user not found in that case. So I will throw an exception, custom exception to the as a API response. So that API response actually return as to the user, right? So what I will do, let me put a try catch block here. Okay, so that try clause in catch block, I will throw an exception or custom exception. Okay, so let me use that. Okay, so let me put into that try block, and there is a catch block. Okay, and this method will be inside here, and then optional would be user. So optional is basically object container. It will handle, you do not need to explicitly handle null or empty value. So if it is null, or so you can directly check here, and then you can accordingly you can handle exception, or you can return something. Okay, so what I'll do, I will throw an exception if user is not getting found. So let me see. So I'm not going to put here try catch block, because it will going to directly handle here. Leave it. Okay, so what I will do, I will return user. Okay, user, or else I will throw exception. Okay, so what I will do, I will throw an exception as let's see, so new bad request. Okay, this is bad request basically, bad input request, because if pass that ID that is actually not existing into that database. Okay, so in that case, what I can do, I can throw in a custom exception, let's suppose. So let me use one enum class that will have some error code as well. So where I can say message. So let me create error class, which is not class, enum. So because see, to have the error code in enum, that is actually followed standard convention to follow that. So what I can do here, user, you can create multiple, right? So I am just going to create one simple example. You can have multiple your custom message. Okay, user not found. Okay, and then I can pass here 404, and there will be a message user not found. Okay, okay. Now there will be two field member, that will be a code, you can say final actually, and then private final is string, and then description, or you can say message, error message. Okay, and I will create a error constructor. So enum is basically in naming convention will follow all in uppercase. Sorry. So let me rename here. Okay, so I actually prefer to follow that should not be the same name. So I always prefer to have some different name. Error message equal to message. Okay. Now we can create a getter here only. So because by default it will not allow you to set any method because enum class. Okay. Enum. Okay, all fine. Okay, all right. Now what I can do here, I can actually directly use that message format. So I'm a message formatter. Format dot format, and then here I can pass two kind of argument. One would be also I will have to write to string as well. I have to overwrite. Okay, we can. Okay, that's fine. Sorry, it will not allow to override the to string method. So we can directly use error, not that error. Oh, error dot user not found dot get error message. Okay, and then message format basically okay, so what I have done, not found for, I can use one parameter basically. I want to show that some dynamic value. Okay, for user ID, let's say I can pass here as a, the formatter is going to pass the value, and then I'll pass as a string. So as a string, I can convert this as a long dot to string. and pass ID. Okay, this has been done. And now, so I am passing because in this exception, now this message is completed, but I want to pass that actually error code as well. Whatever. Oh, because I haven't passed error code. So let me pass the error code. Error dot user not found dot get code. Cool. Now this is now because we are going to custom exception handler, and then it is ready now. So let me go into the quickly into the controller, and controller let me over auto where public um, user service okay, and then user service going to get uh, create user. Okay, and the same I can directly pass here. Okay, here I'm not throwing any exception to understand. So here I'm because to learning purpose we can throw an exception as well there. That's not an issue. And then I will capture user. Okay, and this user there's no need to throw here. I can directly pass. Okay, what the issue? Find. Okay, so get user. Now we are ready with that custom exception handler. Okay, so let's see. Let me put some logger here. So let me put some logger so that we will able to understand. Okay, so this method has executed. Okay, so private static logger. I can say logger factory. Custom exception. Not custom exception dot class. I'm going to use SLFs for J. Okay. What happened? Okay. I will not use this. I will use SLF for J. Get logger. Okay. Let me print here one info logger info logger.info. Inside bad request. Okay, so that we will understand this this method had executed, and then I can simply write here inside not found exception, not found exception handler method. Let me put here some meaningful inside bad request. All right. Okay, so let's see. Let me run this and then see how it behaves. And later, something error is coming. Customer service not found. Okay, ambiguous. Okay, so okay, the same argument actually we are passing, that's why it's throwing. So okay. So let me try for as of now, let me use the same as a okay. So if we are using the multiple with the same exception, so we can remove this, because see, so the same bad input exception we are handling with the multiple response status. So what we can do, let me remove it. It's gonna find by itself. Okay, so I'm going to use only one method. So same method will be mapped with the for both exception not found and bad request. Okay, yeah. Okay, so let me submit this request. So we got this response. Now it's submitted. Now let me find this. Let me submit, because if you see, yes, we are trying that it was not throwing an exception which was basically expected. So it will say your user not found for user ID 2, right? So let me go into that console. So see, so this logger has been printed, right? So inside the bad request exception, see, so this method has executed, right? And then, sorry, where it is? And let's suppose we are passing 1. So in that case, you will get a response, correct? Okay. Let me do one thing. Let me handle another exception for an example. I'm just going to show you that because I have created another custom exception, which is user custom exception, right? So in user custom exception, what we can do, let me say, let's check that for an example in user service layer here. Here's what we can do. We can say, let me check if some kind of validation. Okay, user dot get user ID username dot contains at the rate. If not contains, let's suppose, if not contains, then throw an exception, throw new user custom exception. So I will pass some message here. So let me use error code User validation error. User validation. User name incorrect. Okay, incorrect. And then I can say some 400 request. Okay, and 400 request, and then you can say username is not name is not valid. Okay, and then you can pass as a parameter, we can say 0, which is we can show them okay actually what actually you're passing. Okay, good. Now let me come back, and then you can say error dot username incorrect dot get code, and then error dot get not get username incorrect dot get error message. Okay, so actually I am returning with the user custom exception. So what I can do, I can go here in custom exception handler. I can simply write another method that will be mapped with the user custom exception, and I can pass user custom exception. Okay, and handle custom error right. So actually once we are throwing, then this controller will also throw an exception. So what we can do, another thing what we can do, let me put this in the try catch block specifically. So this will be create user, and then I can simplify user equal to null. Okay, if everything user equal to this, if everything is fine, user object you can say, then I can return. Okay, otherwise I will catch an exception and throw new. What we can do, because we just wanted to throw whatever the error is coming, just we wanted to throw from here only controller, from the controller, because we are going to catch that exception. Okay, so I can because I have thrown custom exception, so I can directly catch that exception handler, and then I can rethrow from here, throw new custom exception, custom exception. Okay, with not custom. Okay, this is not user custom exception. And then I will use user custom exception, that is this. Here I can say e dot get error code, also e dot get message, and then we can simply throw it. The same way I will do here as well in this method. So because I'm going to use user equal to initially null, and then we'll try, we're gonna move this, insert this try, let's remove it, and then catch. That's easy to understand, bad input request. Okay, From here, I can throw new custom exception. So that API will return as some specific error. So I can return bad input request with error code, e.get error code, and then e.get message. Okay, all right. Okay, so all fine. So let me rerun again. Then see how it's behaving. Okay. Okay, one thing I forgot to mention here. Custom handler, where is custom handler exception? Okay. Inside, I'll have to inside custom. Inside custom exception handler. Okay, inside by request handler. Okay, so let's run there. Okay. Let me resubmit this request. So again submitted. I got a response. Let me find this. Okay, everything happy scenario is working. Let me try with one bad scenario. So I got exception as I expected inside the bad request exception. Now let me post without this. Okay. So what I should get 400 requests, right? So okay, I got it because we haven't passed that particular. Okay, so if you see here, so inside the custom exception, right? So based on that, what actually the custom exception that we are throwing, that is specifically that is matching with that particular exception handler, and then returning a response, right? So let me use here formatter basically to get it correct. Where it is, user service error message. So let me use message format dot format. Can use error and we can pass user dot get yeah. Okay, let's rerun. Okay, now perfectly fine. Okay, so what we have covered now, as of now, so we have covered how to handle best practice, how to handle a custom exception, and then how to create a error message class, how to create a custom class, and what is controller advice basically. This one, user custom exception handler, where it is, this, right? And then yeah, so 4 point we have covered now. Now let me use Open API specification. How can we use it? So let me check. Okay. So, okay. Okay. Sorry. Start. Node spring.io. Let me generate one spring for a demo purpose. I want to add one dependency Open API. Open API. Now what you can say is Swagger. No. It is that is called actually Open API, so that Spring Doc maybe, what you can say. Okay, I don't know why it is not coming, but leave it. Let me directly include here this way. So I don't know why I'm not able to find them right now. So what I can do, I can use org dot spring doc. Okay, and then spring doc open API and UI. Okay, we can pass version here. Version basically you can have 1.5.9. Okay, so let's build it. All right, okay, it's downloading the source code. Then further, what you have to do, because we are going to use Open API here for Swagger UI. So this will give you that you do not need to. It will give you that specific UI where you can test all those API, right? So let me. So first of all, you have to override some enable that Open API definition. So let me go into that class. I will use annotation Open API definition, and then I can pass some custom info. So there will be info equal to, I can pass info about this info. Okay, and inside that info I can pass title. What will be the title? Title equal to, I can pass what we can say, user API. Okay, and then second version we can pass. Version we can have let me have 0.0, and description you can pass as well. Description. Okay. There is something error. Okay. Description. I'm going to pass user API doc. Okay. Now we have enabled Open API definition here. You do not need to do anything. You will have to just rerun this application. Then what you will find that there is one error. There is one UI where you can open that localhost you can say Swagger. let's say v3/api doc. Not even it's failing about not 8080. Okay, so if you see, let me open Json Viewer. Format. So see, this is the OpenAPI version, and then info that we passed in the main class, and then server what is we are running on the local host, and description that we passed there. Then there's one path is /user, and then /user we are posting where on user controller to OpenAPI we have a method create user, and then schema they are going to use user. So what kind of schema is there? So user kind of schema will have ID, username, first name, last name, and password. And then role type definition is already there. So role will have ID, name, description. Okay. So when you submit this request, it will return this kind of schema. Okay. A content type will be JSON. It is required true, and then it will return 200 response. Okay. And then schema type object. Okay. Then again, if you are passing anything, we are going to get an user by ID, then it will the operation is basically get user, and then parameter will be ID in path required true, and that is kind of format int 64. There will be a response of 200. Okay. Okay, because we are returning 200. Okay, now let me you can download this by using YAML. So it will download a YAML file. So okay, let me open Swagger UI. Okay, so Swagger UI basically there will be Swagger UI.html. So this will give you that Swagger UI also. You can try here. So it is going to give you that 200 response, and then it will give you that as well. Schema definition is also there, and then user is also there, right? So all the schema definition is there. So let me post one data from here. So let's try it, and then let me post as it is from here. I'm going to post. Okay, so let's try it. So there is a curl command, and then it is returning this, right? This error message. Okay, 400. And let me use this one, and then let me execute. So you can see 200 error response code, and this is the response body. Okay, now let me come back to that where user find. So let's try. So let me try one by, because one is existing. So you can see this is the 200 response code we are getting. This is 200. And now I'm going to pass this to, so it will return you some error code 400, that is user not found, right? Now let me customize this API document, and that is the default one. So we can customize that basically URL. So what we can do, let's suppose, because if you see that when I passing that 8080 /v3, right? Then we are getting this. But in our if you want to customize this, so you can do it's Spring Boot giving on the flexibility to, you can customize your own. So what you can do, we can go that resource and then properties file. And then here you can there is one property you can override, a Spring doc dot spring doc dot API doc path, right? Here, let's suppose I'm saying API doc only, user doc. Okay, so let me restart. So we can directly access user, right? Now this will be the same configuration. Let me sorry, this one. So user doc slash swagger UI dot HTML, whatever. Okay. No, so this error is not going to, because the configure is going to fetch from here. Okay, so swagger UI will be the same, and this will going to fetch this one. Okay. Okay, all right. That's it, because we have covered almost all the points here, right? Thanks for watching. And guys, you can let me know into the comment if you want to any additional thing to cover. Okay, thank you so much. Bye.